Hey YouTube, good morning. The title of this segment is called Sunday Devotion. And this is going to be a segment in my YouTube channel where I'm going to talk about my different church experiences because I got a lot of stories. The experience that we're going to talk about today is the Mother-Daughter Day Luncheon Debacle. So I was going to this church. I've been at this church for about 2-3 years at the time. And we're going to leave out the church name to protect the guilty. Okay? So, I love coordinating things. I have always coordinated events in different aspects of my career, or even when I was younger in church. I remember I had organized a trip to Six Flags for the youth choir, and that's another story, but that'll come later. So I got the encouragement to coordinate a mother-daughter luncheon the month of Mother's Day, 2014. So I wanted to go about it in the right way and get the right approvals, the chain of command. And I went to the first lady of the church. I go to her, I say, "Hey, Sister Mary." We'll call her Mary. "Hey, Sister Mary. I think it'd be nice if we can have a luncheon with the women to come out and the little girls, and they get some nice hats and we can have some food and everything. And I just want to sit down and see what you thought about that, and let's have a meeting." She said, "Okay, well, I have to go with the pastor to do a sermon out of town this week, but let's meet up next week." I said, "Okay, that's fine." Progressive. So I said, "Oh, I bet a good idea would be to talk to someone that's done this type of thing before." So I went and talked with the church member that had did a luncheon the year before. She did a Valentine's Day luncheon last year. And I said, I want to sit down with her, take her out to eat, and pick her brain and get some ideas. So when we have this meeting, I could be prepared. So we sit down, we have breakfast, we bounce ideas off each other, and it was just a good celebration. My husband was there. And, it was a good time. We got a lot of good ideas, okay? So the meeting came, and I actually invited the lady that I had the breakfast with to come and talk with the first lady about the ideas that we had talked about. And I even typed up an agenda. And the reason I do that is because the church was prone to not having an agenda. It typically consisted of the pastor ranting off about 30 minutes about things they used to do or what he's done in his life. And then 15 minutes we'll have a vote on probably raising some money, and then that'll be the end of the meeting. I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to have a productive conversation. So on the notes that I had typed up, I had a theme, scripture, I had committee positions, I had a kitchen committee, and speaker nominations. I had suggested a silent auction and a program order of service. So again, none of this was set in stone. In my mind, none of this was set in stone. These are just ideas that me and the girl had talked about, and I figured if I put it on paper and people can see it, we can bounce off that and create our own program. That was my approach going into this meeting. So we get to this meeting, and we prayed, and I say, "Sister Mary, Vivica," let's call the girl that I met with Vivica. Vivica and I met, and we had some ideas, and we want you to take a look. And I handed her the piece of paper, and verbatim, she looks at it. "Y'all got this all planned out already." I looked, I said, "What do you mean?" I mean, y'all have everything set out. I don't have any to place on it. I don't have anything to do. I said, "No, this is just a discussion point we can use and we can build off this." And she goes on and on how we just went and had our own agenda, and how, we need to discuss this. And then she says this verbatim, "And my name is nowhere on here." Mind you, her name was under the committee as the chair, number 1. And I said, "Well, if you read down right here on the third bullet point, committee, there's your name right there." And she looked, this is just out of order. This is out of order. I can't believe this is done. So by this time, I have invited the young adults to come. You know, they're a prominent ministry in the church, and they help with the Valentine's Day luncheon. I strategically asked them to come at 30 minutes later from when we started. So I was thinking, Mom, I guess I'm too progressive. Y'all leave it down in the comments. Maybe I should have took my time with this. I'm thinking by the time they got there, we would already have situations in place where all we got to do is have them step in and volunteer, whether it be the silent auction or if they want to speak, if they want to be on the kitchen committee. I figure we'd be at least that far where, oh, we need volunteers. Well, that's why I asked. Me thinking that I know too much. So they come in and she's just going off, and it's so embarrassing to see your first lady go off, and then you have these 18, 19, 20-year-old college students looking at her like, what is this lady doing? So as a sign of peace, I took my paper. I said, you know what, Sister Mary, you know what? This doesn't even matter. How about that? What do you have? I want to hear what you want to do. She looked, I can't give you that. I got to go pray on this. I got to pray on a theme. I got to pray on a scripture. And then she looked back down on her paper. You got all these speakers here. These people are not going to come and show up. But they show up to the stuff that y'all invite. That's different. They come to support pastor. I said, so what is this meeting about if you have to go and sit in your prayer closet? Why did I say that? No, you're not going to come and send me. My prayer closet is my personal time. I said, whoa, I wasn't trying to go there with that. I had to stop her right there. She just came there to be combative. And I couldn't understand for the life of me what I had done wrong. Leave it in the comments what I had did wrong. So after that rant went on for like 45 minutes. And at this point, I'm looking at the ladies that I had invited, and I'm just embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, we hadn't discussed anything. So by the end of that meeting, she said, well, I know a speaker, this lady I've never heard of before, never met. And the speakers that I had nominated, these are people that were fluent or that were involved in different churches that people were familiar with. I was going to have a past mother, a present mother, and a future mother. So a different genre of each section come and speak about 10, 15 minutes. That's it. That's only 45 minutes. We were going to be there a good 3 hours anyway. It's amazing how when the pastor's up there, we can be in church all day long, but when someone else wants to do something, there's a time limit. That's going to be another section of Sunday devotion. We're going to talk about time limits in the church, because I got a story about that too. So anyway, the only thing that we had really resolved was she knew a speaker, and the young adults were going to get items for the silent auction. I said, okay. I told her, I said, Sister Mary, this is you. You know, I'm here to support you. Mind you, under the committee that I had set up, I had put her as the chair. The Sister Vivica, I had put her as the president, and I was number 3, the coordinator. I didn't even have an elaborate title. I just wanted to help plan this. So we're getting ready to dismiss. And mind you, this is before prayer service. We're getting ready to dismiss, and she's going to pray. And in her prayer, she includes, and Lord, please let us remember that it's not about us. Well, that's probably what she needed to pray. So I already knew what was about to go down. I knew I was about to get a phone call the next day, and sure as shit stank, I did. She gives me a call, and she goes on how I was just upset that you had your own agenda and you didn't include me in anything. And I tried to explain to her for the 5th time. This was not an agenda set in stone. These were my notes and my suggestions and ideas. And I really didn't appreciate you disregarding what I had to bring to the table when you didn't bring anything. That's not true. That's not true. I did bring something to the table. You have to understand, there's a way you do things. See, you have a meeting, and then you discuss different things in that meeting. Then the next meeting is when you put those things into action. See, you come to a meeting, you'll see. Okay. I pinned that. Now remember I told you that. So she goes on, she's going on about the speaker that she wants to come speak at the luncheon. I said, well, I've never really heard of her. What is she about? Well, you'll just have to see. She's good, and I'll vouch for her, and Pastor's going to agree with me. Y'all, I cannot make this stuff up. Do you hear me? And then, so she proceeds to go, and so the WMU, the Women's Ministry, found, I don't know, WMU is what they call it, the Women's Ministry. And she's like, I want you to be my first vice president. What is a first vice president? I said, what is a first vice? Under me. But it's not about us. I said, Sister Mary, that's nice and all, but I'm going to have to pray on that. Oh, okay. So, I said, I tell you what, I want you to go and pray on this luncheon, and I'll wait for you to set a meeting because I don't want to overstep your boundaries, and we'll reconvene, okay? All right, God bless you. So we're at the WMU meeting, and on her agenda, because she's allowed to have an agenda, she brings up, she has on there the mother-daughter luncheon. I'm like, okay, well, maybe she stepped it up, and she's going to bring something to the table. She going to say, okay, well, the next topic is the mother-daughter luncheon. Sister Moffitt, where are we at with that? I said, I don't know. You haven't called a meeting. Oh, well, I contacted Sister Vivica, and I told her that it's probably best that I not be involved with this. Now, mind you, it took her all of one day to call a meeting and tell me that I'm not the boss of her, and I had my own agenda, but you couldn't reach out to me to let me know that you had stepped down from this project. So I told her, I said, well, I wasn't aware of that. I hope you had contacted me, but it's okay. I'll meet with Sister Vivica, and we'll see what we can do. That was the last WMU meeting I attended. A mess. Church folks. Now, I work in the private sector, and whenever I come to a meeting, it's understood that you bring notes to discuss, and it better look professional, otherwise you won't get heard. I've never heard, and church folks like to use that phrase, your own agenda, like it's something malicious. I was so distraught. I'm not even distraught. I was so mad. I was mad that she had showed out. She did all that showing out, only to at the end of the day, not even have a luncheon. They still haven't had a luncheon until this day, 3 years later. What do y'all think about that? Put it down in the comments. I'm Miss Moffitt. I'm sitting on topics, spilling the tea, telling all the gossip. And this was your Sunday devotion. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you next Sunday. Praise the Lord.